Eject. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. I'm Debbie. I do lots of different videos here, makeup, lifestyle vlogs, I don't know, figuring it out. But today we are here for a new series that I made called Paralegal Reacts, and it's a continuation of my last video where we are reacting to the Johnny Depp versus Amber Heard case. Specifically today I wanted to go through the examination of Amber Heard. So there's this guy called Nick Wallace. I will link him down below, and he has been live tweeting the whole thing. Unfortunately today is the last day that he'll be able to do it, but he's gonna still post declarations, and there's still lots of different things I can catch up with on my channel, so there'll be lots of things we can still talk about. So yeah, so we're just gonna get right into it because it's quite long. So without any further chit chat, let's do it. So I'm gonna read, I guess all of it, most of it, we'll see. But I'm gonna put on the screen here a live recording of what I'm reading as I'm reading it, so it'll kind of make more sense. Alright, so I'll just put it right there. Let's start off with this part, which Nick Wallace, he is quoting some quotes from Amber Heard's witness statement. So it says here, "Johnny has said he was never violent or abusive towards me during our relationship. That is not true. He was both physically and verbally abusive. The physical abuse and the worst of the verbal abuse would usually happen when he was drunk or high on drugs, which was often. Much of the time, he had difficulty recalling what he had done once he had slept it off. The physical abuse included punching, slapping, kicking, headbutting and choking me, as well as throwing me into things, pulling me by my hair, and shoving me or pushing me to the ground. He threw things at me, especially glass bottles. He was always antagonized by shows of will, like me standing up after he had knocked me down. Often, especially earlier in the relationship, I often wouldn't even block the blows. I would just freeze and dissociate. The verbal abuse included screaming, swearing, and threatening me, but it also included what I would call extremely controlling and intimidating behavior. Having had time to reflect on things, I recognize that this sort of intimidation, isolation, and control is also abusive. As I talk about in the statement, some incidents were so severe that I was afraid he was going to kill me, either intentionally or just by losing control and going too far. He explicitly threatened to kill me many times, especially later in our relationship. One thing that is important to know about Johnny at the outset is that he has a unique ability to use his charisma to convey a certain impression of reality. He's very good at manipulating people. With me, at least early in our relationship, he was able to express contrition after acts of violence. He would blame all his actions on a self-created third party instead of himself, which he often called the monster. He would speak about it as if it was another person or personality and not him doing all these things. I started to do so as well, referring to the monster to describe him during the worst periods of his violent and abusive behavior, especially the violent incidents that took place while he was abusing drugs and alcohol. Johnny attacked me a lot of times on many different occasions. Johnny would create fights or problems before I was going to an audition or acting class. Me being ambitious became a bad thing, as if it were synonymous with fame seekers and women he considered to be distasteful, which made me feel like my profession was somehow embarrassing or shameful. Over time, I stopped taking so many jobs because it was just not worth the fight. He made all kinds of demeaning and derogatory comments about actresses, two-bit whores, and about me wanting to work as an actress. He demanded to know about my romantic scene in a film and complained about how people can watch me get fucked on camera. He would even get copies of the scripts I was looking at without asking me to review them for himself. His rules got tighter every year we were together about what nudity or scenes were acceptable, wanting descriptions of every detail, every aspect of scenes, and how they were covered, placing increasing restrictions on what I could and couldn't do. I'll just like put a little side note there. Like, I noticed at the beginning when she said, oh, he was violent. Like, working as a paralegal, when you write something like that, you're supposed to be very specific and give specific instances and, you know, attach, like, you're supposed to refer to specific instances and attach things that could corroborate that as exhibits. She hasn't done that. She's just being very general. So, I don't know. That's also a red flag to me. And also, the fact that, oh, he didn't want me to work or something. It's like, sweetie, he dated some of the most famous women in the world before. You know, like Winona Ryder, Kate Moss, you know. And so, it's not the first time that he's dated an actress. So, I don't really get that. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. Maybe if he had never dated a famous woman, who knows, but he knew that you were an actress or trying to be an actress, and he's dated many famous actresses before, so I can't see that being a huge issue for him, if that makes sense. Anyways, where was I? I found myself making concessions and turning down work. My salary went down every year I was with him because of all the work I was missing. Meanwhile, he would insist I went on set with him when I wasn't working. It was such a hassle to fight, so I often went along. He would obsess about how I dressed. If I wore a low-cut dress, and he would say things like, my girl is not going to dress like a whore. Over time, I stopped wearing revealing dresses for red carpet events. It wasn't just worth the verbal and psychological abuse. He demeaned me anytime I tried to wear anything that could be seen as sexy, calling me a whore, slut, fame-hungry, and an attention whore. But it got worse over time. He started saying things like, well, I'm going to have to watch you get raped. And I hope you get railed by a bunch of fucking fellas. Sometimes he used racial epithets about the men I would be or deserve to be assaulted by. Just saying things like, oh, you know what, I'm not even going to read that. That's gross. His verbal abuse was often sexualized, but it was also about my looks and related to my work, saying things like, no one will hire you when your tits and ass sag, or calling me fat ass. Sometimes I would react and give it back to him, calling him old man or lip dick. He would often refer to my verbal insults as right hooks or sucker punches. Okay. So, I don't know. It's like, where in the court of law, if it's just like one person's word against the other, it's very hard. But, you know, Johnny does have like surveillance, tons of witness statements, so it's not just his word versus hers, and she's not I guess it's just a statement. I don't know. It's not specific enough, for sure. Like, if she was to say, on this day, at this premiere, I wore this dress, and then this happened, it would be more believable. But, like, if it's so generalized, do you know what I'm saying? Okay. Moving on. Okay, so maybe I'll just try to, like, breeze through. Okay, so, the lawyer. You made it home at Penthouse 3 of Eastern Columbia Building, but he also lived on Sweetser. Amber, yes. And then, lawyer. And you kept your house on Orange Avenue. Amber, yes. And you moved your sister Whitney into the Eastern Columbia Building. Amber says yes. And your friend Rocky Pennington came to live with you there. Amber Heard says she was invited by Johnny, who brought her, and then she says who brought her partner Josh. Maybe I'm going to do an accent so you can tell who's who. Okay. They came to live there. Yes. And none of them paid any rent. Johnny Depp wouldn't let them. And they were all your family and friends. Apart from Isaac. Okay, you know what? I'm going to have to find, okay, I'm just going to kind of scroll through. Okay, so here's her being busted in a lie. Okay, so the lawyer says, did you sign a prenup? Amber says, no. The lawyer says, you were being asked to. Well, Amber Heard says, no, I was not. Then they go to some file, and then it says here, this is from Connor Cohen, who you were receiving therapy from. Amber Heard says, yes. And then in the body of the email, 27th of January, judge says the email itself is headed from David Kipper. And then it says, she's paraphrasing or quoting the therapist. It says, Amber and Johnny Depp have been fighting nonstop since he said he needed a prenup. So there was an argument. Amber Heard says there was an argument. And the lawyer says, thank you. Amber Heard says, which ended up with him hitting me on the back of the head, and it was about Christy wanting the prenup. And I said, of course I'd sign whatever he wanted me to sign. You literally just said that she was not being asked to sign a prenup. But when confronted with evidence, you are forced to switch up. Like, she's not even on the stand for 5 minutes, and she's already busted in a lie. Like, I'm hoping that the judge picks up on this. I'm sure he is, but all of these things can affect the credibility of a witness. If she's lying about one thing, she could be lying about everything else, and especially about something so small. And that's the thing, like, lots of times when someone's on the stand, lawyers are asking questions that they already know the answer to. Do you know what I mean? They're like, it's almost like baiting you. They're asking you a question, and then if you lie, then they pull out their receipts, if you will, to expose you. And when you're caught in a lie, that's when you start to become uncredible. So you're just playing yourself by lying, especially about such dumb things. Like, I don't know. And then the lawyer says she says these are texts between Johnny Depp and his sister Christy, 1st of February 2015, just before you got married. Amber says, right? It says, and you agree this is between Christy and Johnny Depp. They are talking about a prenup or postnup in which they're discussing the complications of both, in which Christy is pushing the prenup as the most satisfactory way of concluding business, with Johnny Depp agreeing. He did want a prenup, didn't he? Amber Heard says, I have no idea. He told me he didn't. He told me the only way out of this was death. Judge, he didn't want a prenup. Amber Heard says, I told him I was happy to sign anything, but he kept saying he'd rip it up and the only way out of it is death. He was having that conversation with Christy and he should have been having it with me. I felt Christy was blocking the wedding by not getting things done, but she kept telling me she has got it. Judge says, now please do give a complete answer, but please don't go into the extent of anticipating further questions. Let's see. The lawyer says, is this a yes or no question? You did not sign a prenup. Amber Heard says no, or a postnup, correct. So then the lawyer says, this is typed up by a registered nurse who you were seeing for a while, Erin Barron. This was written in August 2014 at the start of her treatment with you. And then Amber Heard says she got it from Dr. Kipper's notes. And then he said, right. She records a history of anxiety eating disorder, ADHD. Is that correct? Amber Heard, that's a mistake. Isn't that ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder? I think that's what it is. Okay. Anyways, Judge, what about bipolar? Amber Heard, that's incorrect. And then lawyer says, Amber Heard reports history of substance abuse, including an addiction to cocaine and liquor. Is that true? Amber Heard says no. The lawyer says, so the doctor lied or got it wrong? And then she says, I don't know when he spoke to me about my history, but I've never had anxiety eating disorder, never had bipolar, never had a substance abuse problem. I tell people about my family history and my parents' addiction to alcohol. And then the lawyer says, this is very different from your statements. Amber Heard, my statements are correct. Lawyer, and Dr. K is wrong and the nurse didn't take any notes? Amber Heard says correct. Lawyer says, that's wrong. Amber, no. So the lawyer says, the first thing he got wrong was the argument about the prenup, and now he's got it wrong about your medical history. So let me get this straight. So the doctor and the nurse are lying? Okay. And also the cops that saw you with no bruises are lying, that saw, no damage in your house, they're also lying. Everyone's lying except for you. Okay, girl. Okay, so like even in that audio from like after the Australia finger incident, you can hear the nurse there saying they wanted to give her, I believe it was Seroquel, which is, if I'm not mistaken, an antipsychotic, and they're discussing how it's her usual dose but upping it, which stands to reason that she was on it for a length of or period of time. So that's from a recording that she took herself, and she released herself. So she's so full of it. Sorry, but she is. Amber Heard, Dr. K puts me on all sorts of meds, and frankly, I've lost track. Lawyer says, and you in a tape suggest that you are stuck to the medication. So I will suggest you were on medication throughout your marriage. Amber says, I had one medication I took before, during, and after our relationship, and Dr. K put me on a range of meds. And then they ask her, so you received meds before Johnny Depp? Amber Heard says, no, not a variety, just one. The judge says, what's it called? And she says, Provigil. It's a narcolepsy medicine. And then the lawyer says, that's a total lie, what you just said. Dr. Kipper, and the lawyer says, Dr. Kipper says, why did you participate in mushrooms on the island and in ecstasy in Australia? Is that right or wrong? Amber Heard, it's wrong. He got his information from Johnny Depp. So the lawyer goes, when did you take drugs? Amber Heard says, MDMA on a flight to Moscow, and mushrooms in Hicksville, and on my birthday at Coachella, and then there's the other time I did it without Johnny again before the wedding, on a hen party before the wedding, and he passed around a bag of shrooms. I think before that she was just saying that she doesn't really do illicit drugs, so again, another lie. And it says, Amber says, Dr. K is incorrect when he said I participated in ecstasy with Johnny Depp in Australia, because he was going off of what Johnny said. And then, so the lawyer goes, so then lots of medical professionals are either lying or misrepresenting your drug use? She says, I don't blame them for what Johnny Depp told them. Girl, a medical professional is not just going to put something in his notes based off of what somebody else told them, because it's a doctor, It's not a therapist, it's not nothing. They would have had to meet with you to make those notes. They're not going to meet with somebody without you there and, put that into their notes. It doesn't make any kind of sense. And they said that she says, obviously, it's a doctor. They would have met with her. They're not going to meet with Johnny Depp and discuss her, and then, they're not a therapist. It's a doctor. He prescribed her medication, for a reason. Is she for real? The lawyer says, was Starling Jenkins lying when he said he saw you vomiting in the parking lot of Coachella? She says he was mistaken. It was my sister. And then the lawyer goes, so he was lying. Amber Heard says, I've never vomited in a parking lot in my life. And the lawyer goes, read something. I'm assuming it's from the doctor. Yeah, it's from the doctor or whatever. It says, client admits to illicit drug use during the trips, states she ingested mushrooms and MDMA, and states that she vomited and was high for 24 hours straight. And it says, you were telling the doctor that you were the one who was vomiting and that you were high for 24 hours. She says, the nurse, I think. And then she says, I told her I felt like vomiting, and then I spent the next 24 hours laying in bed regretting taking both those things during a breakup. Then the lawyer goes, you're just lying. I'm not. Why would the nurse lie? She goes, the documents are mistaken. This entry is full of mistakes. Look at what it says about Johnny Depp. It says that he was clean. Girl, why is a nurse gonna lie? Like, are you serious? And these are just such small, insignificant things that do not affect the outcome of whether Johnny Depp hit her or not. And it's so insignificant for her to lie about these things. It's just, she's not a good witness for anybody, not for herself, not for NGN. My God. So then they start to discuss. It said a letter written, and it goes, it starts to whom it may concern, and it's got your signature at the bottom. And then Amber goes, yes, and its purpose is to indicate that Savannah McMillan is not your employee. She goes, yeah. And in it you say, so the lawyer goes, and in it you say she was not working unlawfully, and you say she wasn't working for you. She goes, yeah. And she worked as your assistant in the US. No, Amber says. Amber denies it, and he goes, we'll come to that. In this letter, you call Savannah Million your friend. No suggestion she sometimes worked for you. Amber Heard goes, wasn't relevant. Okay. And then the lawyer reads out Amber Heard's unequivocation that the allegation that she is working legally is false. And are you saying that she never worked for you? And then she goes, unlawfully. She was hired to work for you. And Amber goes, she worked for the production company on set to assist me. But your letter set out to suggest that she does not work for you. Amber Heard goes, I didn't write it, but I did sign the document because I thought it reflected the truth. I guess the allegations are that basically that she falsified this letter to Homeland Security saying that the girl wasn't working for her. Okay, so but she said like she would work for her in the UK but not in the States because she didn't have a working visa. Amber Heard says sometimes she'd be an intern, sometimes a friend. Then the lawyer goes, an intern, were you paying her? And then Amber Heard says no. And then they pull out a file. Here we go. And that says the lawyer says, see that date, 8th of May 2014. And this is an email from you to Kate James. Kate James says, hope you had a good flight. Savannah just asked me to write a check for her pay, and if so, how much? Did you get that email? Amber says, yes. And did you reply, yes please, $1,300? Amber Heard says, yes, I did. And the judge said, were you saying that Kate James should arrange for Savannah to be paid $1,300? Amber Heard said, yes, I was. And then they go to a photocopy of the check. And the judge goes like, this is dated, Amber Heard goes May 9th. And the lawyer, 2014. Is it signed by you? Amber Heard says, yes. And then the lawyer says, what is the sum you're paying her? Amber Heard, $60.25. Why is the check signed by you if the production company was paying her? You're a liar. Oh my God. Maybe I guess is a nurse. And the lawyer says, do you remember an occasion when the nurse went to your house after photos of you were published online that you didn't like, and you were irritable, loud, angry, and screaming at the nurse? Why is she screaming at the nurse? Okay. And then she says, Amber says, I don't remember that, but that was when someone hacked into my account and stole naked photographs of me and photoshopped them and made degrading comments. Johnny Depp blamed me for that. I was extremely distressed. It was beyond me not liking them. I felt my human rights had been, and the lawyer goes to the entry, I guess by the nurse. It says, client says feeling high levels of anxiety, crying, hyperverbal, Johnny Depp comforted her and took her through relaxation techniques. Remember that? And then Amber says, I don't remember that bit. You just took us in great detail through why you were upset, but you don't remember Johnny Depp helping you here. Amber Heard says, he might have been like that in front of other people, but he didn't stay like that for long. The lawyer says, a number of people have given evidence saying you are the person who would start arguments, which she then denies that. And then she claims his employees would not see her arguments. They would happen behind closed doors. So all the people that said they witnessed the arguments are all lying, and you're the only one telling the truth? Okay. I mean, if it was like, oh, shoot. If it was just like a few witness statements, but that many witnesses saying that they've seen you be the aggressor, like, they can't all be lying. And then the lawyer says, other witnesses say you've thrown things at Johnny Depp. Is that true? And then she says, only to escape Johnny Depp. If you want to escape, you just run. I don't know. So the lawyer says, anytime you got violent was a direct result of Johnny Depp's behavior. Amber Heard says, I was never violent. I only tried to defend myself against his violence, and that was years into the relationship. Before that, I didn't even try to defend myself. I just checked out. So the lawyer says, so you only ever threw anything in self-defense? And then she says, to escape him. And then they go to a recording. And then it says, there's a discussion about throwing vases and pots and pans. And then the lawyer says, it sounds like you're admitting throwing pots and pans and not in self-defense. Amber says, that's what it sounds like, but that's not the way that it was. Oh, sure, girl. And then the judge says, was it true that you threw pots and pans at Mr. Depp? And then she says, only in self-defense. I'm not admitting to throwing pots and pans. You just said that you did it in self-defense. So this is like, it's a yes or no question. Did you or didn't you? It's a yes. So you are admitting to that. You can't play both sides. Either you did it or you didn't. She says, I was trying to keep Johnny on track by trying to insult me or blame me. So what I do here is I keep trying to remind me that doesn't matter to what I'm trying to talk about. Girl, what? And the lawyer says, so we agree, you threw things. She says, I'm not agreeing to throwing anything. What? You just said that you threw the pots and pans at him. She's insufferable. Nick Wallace, I'm confused now. You and me both. Then they play a recording, which consists of Johnny Depp accusing her of punching him across the face and then lying about it to Travis. And then the recording, she said she was hitting him but not punching him. The famous recording. And then it says, and then the lawyer points out that Amber Heard appears to be agreeing to starting the fight. I know exactly what recording this is. And then she said, in that recording, she does say, I did start a physical fight. She says that explicitly. And then the lawyer says, so you admit hitting him? Amber Heard says, yes. And then they say, is that an honest admission? And then she says, yes, he was passing out and vomiting in his sleep on a regular basis. Girl, what? She's trying to backtrack and make explanations, but it's, I don't know, it's just, the recording is you. You yourself said those things, so she's just trying to backtrack it, but the point stands that you already said those things. Then she goes on to say something about him passing out in bathrooms. What does that have to do with you starting a physical fight? I don't understand. She says he would pass out in a bathroom and lock the door. I just don't see the correlation. She says, she goes into long explanation of what happened that night, which was that he was off his head and went to the bathroom, fell over and smashed some things. So what, and then she says, so you pushed him to defend yourself? Yes, I was pushing the door or him to stop him falling towards me. And then he said, why did you not say that on the tape? I was defending myself. And then Amber Heard says, that was not a recourse you could take with Johnny Depp. You just get another black eye. What? And I've read that, I've listened to that audio. She literally he was saying like, you were punched me. And she's like, you weren't punched, you were hit, and you're a baby. And she's like going off on him. So like, it's a very long tape, and she's gaslighting him, but she didn't hit him. She was being very aggressive, screaming at him. You would just get another black eye. The way she was she admits that she started a physical fight, and she says, I can't promise I won't get physical again. Does that sound to you like someone that's afraid to get a black eye? I don't think so. Laura goes, you said you only ever used violence in self-defense, and you only ever did it within your relationship with Johnny Depp. That's completely wrong. She says, it's not. And then they refer to her arrest for direct domestic violence against her ex-girlfriend, Tazia Van Ray. And then the lawyer goes, you were living with Miss Van Rees in Puerto Rico, and a neighbor there in Puerto Rico said that you and Miss Van Rey have constant screaming rows. And she says, absolutely not. And the lawyer goes, so frequent and loud they cause a problem for your neighbors. So basically Amber's denying that there was an assault, but I mean, it was enough to get her arrested. So the lawyer says, a number of people saw you on the 21st, and they all say they couldn't see a mark on you, including 2 police officers. Are they all lying? Amber says, I don't want to call anyone a liar. I can't speak to what they saw. And it said, Laura says, after the restraining order, you continued to contact him, and then you went to see Johnny Depp in July when the restraining order was still in place. And Amber says, I may have done this with the male friend. And then the lawyer says, you flew out to meet him. And then she says, not just to meet him. So the judge asked, this is the meeting in San Francisco, and in it you claim to be petrified of him. She says, I was at the time. So the lawyer's asking, so are you saying that by July you were no longer petrified of him? Amber is saying, no, I'm saying I didn't know there was a restraining order. What do you mean you didn't know there was a restraining order? You literally filed it or asked for it. Girl. It says, were you petrified of him when you saw him in July? She said, I had relationships with 2 people. I was not scared of Johnny. I was scared of the monster that he identified earlier in our relationship. And I was terrified of the monster that he would become. And then the lawyer says, even if you were terrified of even a part of Johnny Depp's character, you would not meet up with him. Amber Heard says, of course not. I've been in a relationship with him. I was married to him. Of course I'd meet up with him. And then the judge says, we have your answer. So and then the lawyer starts talking about how Amber Heard says, you know, when, I guess the famous event about the iPhone throwing thing, she says that Johnny Depp was 6 feet away from her, and then I guess her friend Rocky came in, and she says that they were about 12 feet apart. And then the lawyer says, I suggest Johnny Depp threw the phone onto the sofa, and only once, not at you. Amber Heard says he did both. Okay. Amber Heard says, I was limited in the amount of words I could use in the declaration. Sure. And then the lawyer says, in that declaration, you miss out details and incidents. Amber Heard says, I only list the most recent ones. And so the lawyer goes, and then when the security came in, you were shouting, stop hitting me. And then you changed it to, like, don't hit me again. The judge asks if she screamed, don't hit me, and Amber Heard says words to that effect. Oh, sorry, baby. Oh, sorry. Okay. She's alleging that he caused a bunch of damage to the penthouse. Oh, sorry, baby. Okay. But the cops arrived, like, shortly after this, and they saw no marks on her face, no damage done whatsoever. And then they go to Amber Heard's deposition on 13th August 2016. It says, Laura goes, in the depot, you indicated your conversation to the 2 officers. Amber Heard said, absolutely not. That's not what I said to them. And then Laura goes, you heard what the officer said. Amber Heard says, you completely lied. And Laura says, one of them said something looked wrong and it seemed unsafe. Amber Heard said they did. One said I looked upset and it felt unsafe, and so they wanted to check around, so Josh showed them around. So the lawyer goes, these are two contradictory accounts, which Amber agrees to, and says you've got Josh showing them around, pointing out all the damage, which is a total lie. And she declined to give a statement. So she's alleging that the officer thought that she looked hurt, but she's saying because she declined to give a statement, they couldn't do anything. She said she couldn't do anything without a statement. Okay, so I'm not sure about California law, but I know here in British Columbia, Canada, if they don't need your statement or your permission if it's an instance of domestic violence. They don't need you to press charges. They will move forward. I'm not sure if California is the same, but I would think so. If they had seen proof that she was, like, on her face, that she was abused, I feel like they would move forward, whether she gave a statement or, like, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, they would have investigated further. They wouldn't have just been like, okay, bye, you know, can't do nothing about it. They would have moved forward and investigated, you know, if they saw evidence of domestic violence. And they're saying, like, she's alleging that an officer said that she looked hurt, and they're asking which officer was it, and she says can't say for sure, probably the female officer. And then the lawyer goes, you're making this up as you go along, which Amber Heard denies. And then the male officer says he looked around the apartment and he saw nothing. Amber Heard, he gave a statement in 2016 after I filed for divorce and it was in the public domain. The lawyer goes, so he lied because of the media? She says, I am not calling anyone a liar. I don't know why the officer said what they said. What? It's an officer, like, out of anybody, like, they have nothing to gain from lying, and especially in a court of law, this testimony and statement of a police officer holds a lot of weight. Like, who do you really think the court is going to believe? Two police officers or you? Oh, and then they refer to a picture where Amber Heard's clasping a laptop. She arrived at 3:30 p.m. and did not leave until 7:30 p.m. which it's a meeting with her lawyers on 28th of May, the day after the restraining order was confirmed, correct? So this was a red flag to me even at the time that it happened, because the day when she went to court to get the restraining order, she had the bruises, looking very somber. The next day, she's clutching her laptop, laughing maniacally, and there's no bruise on her face whatsoever. So the lawyer goes, restraining order was the 27th. Does that sound right? No marks at all on your face. And then Amber says, it was shot by paparazzi, and if I'm out in LA, I would wear makeup, apart from my court appearance. This girl is not, she's never in makeup. And that's what everyone says. She's never in makeup unless she's on set. And that's really typical of actresses or models or anything like that, because when they're working, they have to wear such heavy makeup that they like to give their skin a rest on days when they don't work. And she's not really like the makeup kind of type. And so the lawyer goes, so leaving your house, you would always wear makeup? And Amber says, I rarely wouldn't wear makeup. The lawyer says, I want to suggest that everything we have seen in those photos is done by you with makeup. So I know my face had an injury. She claims that she touched up with concealer, and then she said it's harder to touch up as skin becomes more sensitive. Days 2 and 3 are always harder to cover up. She says you're using makeup to look more injured. Where's the swelling, by the way? Like, you don't just get bruising, you always also get swelling, you know? So the lawyer says a number of people at the Eastern Columbia building, which is where she was living, saw you and you didn't have a single injury to your face. They're all lying, aren't they? Amber replies, I'm not here to call people liars. Well, what are you saying? Someone's lying. Okay, well, I guess that's that for now. So that is that. So the guy that I was getting the live tweets from, he's not going to be doing it any longer, but he said that he will still be posting witness statements. So I will go through whenever those are posted. There's still tons of other people's statements that I can go through in the meantime, because this has been going on for a couple weeks. So I will carry on going through everything. Next time I'm just going to go through the transcripts and do it that way. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this. Please comment down below. I will catch you on the next one. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you that are here, and I'm glad that this case interests you as much as it interests me. So yes, thank you so much for being here, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.